We got to break Cereba up. Cereba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.
We got to break Cereba up. Cereba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.
We got to break Cereba up. Cereba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here. Because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Word of Mouth. Today is Monday, the 24th of April, 2023. And we apologize for not having any shows last week, but we are currently, trying to set the studio up and get it the new direction that we're headed in up and running. But just a few things going on over the last couple of weeks. We had the Jet Around race. We had to pause and take a considerable amount of time to deal with that. That was a huge success. And now we got the end of the month fast approaching next weekend. And then we'll be able to try to refocus on getting everything restructured. But again, thank you guys for continuing to watch Word of Mouth. I'll just get my screen up here. There. A couple of things I see going around in the headlines. Of course, the best we can do is decipher what we can from the articles, the headlines, what's going on within the local community. I know that Kenneth Bryan had a meeting a few nights ago, one of his quarterly or his halfway point meeting. I'm not sure what he called it. I didn't attend. I didn't get to watch it in any way, but I did read a headline on CNS where him and Chris Saunders had an opportunity to see each other, and he embraced him. Whatever. I don't know the full details about it, but at the end of the day, politics shouldn't create enemies, right? So at the end of the day, I know those two gentlemen was friends prior to, should be friends after, hopefully. Politics don't become a deciding factor whether or not we maintain relationships. Um, couple other things that I think is critically important for us to continue to talk about. And I wanna never drop the dime when it comes to these sort of issues, especially with the Regen project, the CUC utility, the cost of energy, the restructuring of how we want to look in the next 40 to 50 to 100 years. Um, at the end of the day, what we need to really focus on is what's important, the fundamental issues that are affecting all of us, not just a small section of us. We have a situation where, you know, if we had taken our island seriously, or if politicians have taken our island seriously and the things that need to be implemented, we would have seen a lot more progress and a lot more traction in things that need to be done. The problem is that politicians have become accustomed to the idea that they need to go to public consultation for everything that they do, or any law or anything that they put in place. Now, whenever it suits them, you never hear about it. You never hear about them going public consultation. No. Um, I spoke about this for the last couple of weeks only because we need to continue to emphasize the fundamental breakdown in governments and their reasoning behind why they do certain things and why they don't do certain things. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, we hear them talking about an anti-bullying law, an anti-sexual harassment law, right? And they're talking about going to public consultation. For what reason? You want to find out if the public supports you on putting in an anti-bullying law and an anti-sexual harassment law? No, the public supports you. The public just need you to implement the law and then enforce the law. That's what we need. Why you need public consultation for what? These are the things that don't need public consultation, that don't need to waste the time and the space in between you doing public consultation, spending money in order to go to each district to talk about what? Nobody agrees with bullying. Nobody agrees with sexual harassment. Pass the laws, enforce the laws, let's get on with it. Recycling. Everybody agrees with recycling except for those who benefit from the things that recycling don't allow. But yeah, the country need a recycling law, anti-bullying law, and a sexual harassment law. Pass the laws. Let's get on with the country business. You didn't waste any time passing a anti-humanitarian law by forcing people to get a vaccination that don't work to be able to work on this island to provide for their families. You didn't hesitate to do that. Oh, and you ignored the public cry to have a conversation. So where was your public consultation abilities then? When you were passing a law that was going to impact 50% of our population and 50% of our workforce? Ladies and gentlemen, the realities are there. We don't need to continue to have a conversation about something that is 100% supported. Public consultation, we don't need public consultation for those three items. What we need is politicians with the bravery of sacrificing their political mileage to put the things that are necessary in place. But I haven't seen any true bravery within the PAC government when it comes to implementing those sort of things. You know, I hate to have to sound like a broken record, and I hate to have to keep calling the person's names that are responsible. But I didn't ask them to go and not and put themselves forward to run for politics. I didn't ask them to go and accept the leadership role if you weren't prepared to be a leader or take the licks that come with it, or the gratitude that comes with it if you do the right thing. I didn't tell you to do that. You did it on your own. So then you need to man up and woman up whenever you guys are being not criticized, but being held accountable because there's a stark difference between being criticized and being held accountable. And what I plan to do, and what I always done, and what I always continue to do, is hold you accountable. Call a spade a spade. Call it for what it really is. Excuse me. And the problem is that we have too many politicians that constantly have out their political measuring stick, so they can see how much mileage you can get from every single thing they do. They don't hesitate to go and take a photo op when they're back to school and they're giving out a few books and bags. They don't hesitate to go in and take photo ops when it's Earth Day cleanup. I mean, for God's sakes, it's Earth Day cleanup. It's not something you need a photo op for. You don't see they seize every opportunity whenever they're doing anything on the small level community wise. First person to be there, take the photo op, take the little political mileage. At least that's what they think it is. The problem is that we, the electorate, the public, we are allowing them to make a mockery of us. Because if we accept those mediocre ambitions in order to re-elect them, then we're at fault. We're just as much at fault as they are. Because we've created this comfortable environment for them to think that is enough to get re-elected. These next 2 years, when you see this strategic plan that they need to roll out, it's going to be all about tangibility, the things that they can do to put as political emblems so they can be re-elected. It's a mileage measuring stick that is now full at work. Now, I look at many different motions and things that need to be done. I mean, I don't know if you all got short-term memory, but I remember in the wee parts of last year, Mr. Panton came out and said he supported the East-West Arteria Road. And now he seemed to have taken a back pedal. Problem is, ladies and gentlemen, is that the people who complaining about the East-West Arteria don't live in the East-West Arteria. I can assure you of that. It's all of these Johnny come lately, allowed to be a Caymanian, who come here and complain about what Cayman need to do infrastructurally to accommodate the increase in influx of other people. We're not upgrading our infrastructure to accommodate Caymanians, ladies and gentlemen. And let me tell you all something here right now this morning. I make zero apologies for who are offended, who have become part of the Caymanian fabric, who are now becoming the biggest thorn in our sides, because all of a sudden they have developed this misconception that we are not capable, we're not competent, and we don't have the ability to forecast or even forge our future. The problem is that everybody's opinion should be either respected, and everybody's ambitions should also be either respected or not. But what I see happening here is that there's too much back and forth. There's too much flip-flopping that going on, but that's the nature of politics. Now we have this last 2 years left on this cycle, and it's going to be very interesting to see the amount of things that come out of the woodworks in order to get political mileage. Now, there are a few ministers that have been busy from day one straight back to now, and kudos to them. We're talking about Jay and these guys. These guys been busy because National Roads Authority, NRA, ain't a small portfolio to deal with. There were multiple roads and road systems and projects that were underway prior to Jay taking over office. So there was a lot of management that had to be put in place in order to continue these things. But what I would like to highlight and what I would like to bring to the forefront is that when you look at the other ambitions of other ministries within the government, we know that they can only go as far as the willingness of the civil servants who run those portfolios, who work in those portfolios, I should say. And until we have some sort of constitutional reform where the ministers can actually have a little bit more autonomy over the civil servants who run the ministries, we'll always get a subpar result. We'll always get what the best ability of those civil servants are. But there need to be some accountability in that department as well. So I constantly talk about the things that are fundamentally affecting us that can be changed by the ministers and the people who are the guardians, right? Now, I don't know how many of them want to have a constitutional reform conversation, but I can tell you this, the general public needs a constitutional reform conversation. There are a lot of hindrances within the Constitution that we need to deal with. I see we got new, if you look at the autonomy of the governor, the position of the governor, and certainly we have a new governor now, I think her name is Jean Owen. I apologize if I got that wrong, but think her name is Miss Jane Owen, and she just got sworn in. So we just have to see. I saw a headline where she says she's gonna be insistent on listening to the people of the Cayman Islands, and I hope that that's the case. So nobody can cast no shadow, no judgment, no light, no anything on her at this moment because she's fresh, and we'll give her an opportunity to fulfill her promises and to see whether her actions will say otherwise in regards to the best interest of the people of the Cayman Islands. Now, we know that she have a dual responsibility, and that is to ensure and keep in line the wishes of the Foreign Commonwealth Office. That's her job. Nobody can criticize her for that. Um, One of the main reasons why I was so heavily disappointed in the last governor is because of his very nonchalant disregard attitude he had with us as a group when we first met him. I don't even think he was here 3 months when we first approached or had a meeting with the governor. But anyway, all that aside, what he done is not to be a reflection on what she will do. So let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Let's give her an opportunity to be the governor, and we'll be able to weigh in along the way to see whether things are how we see it or whether we're uncomfortable with it. The problem is that the constitutional reform in which I speak of needs to strip away Section 88 of the Constitution that gives the governor, regardless of who it is, the power to overrule a democratic process that happened in our halls of parliament. We need to remove that ability simply because if duly elected members go into the halls of parliament to rule on a bill or an issue, those duly elected members represent the people. So how is it that the people slash the duly elected politicians who represent us can go into a democratic process and it be totally disregarded because it's not aligned with the foreign commonwealth wishes? And that's exactly what Martin Roper did. He did that, right? Now he's not the first governor to bestow the powers, reserve powers, and I doubt he'll be the last. The only time it can never be the last is if we go independent. And there is a shaky, frightening word that we've been subliminally taught to think is unheard of. That's another topic for another day. Now, again, I just wanted to express that I'm willing to give her the benefit of the doubt, and let's see how that goes. And I can always be here with a watchful eye and a listening ear to understand what's happening, to speak up for those who can't speak and speak up for those who don't want to speak. So when we look at these last 2 years of this political cycle, we have to take close attention to what's going to happen. Because the reality is that we have to decide whether or not on election day do we want to carry on with the current situation or do we want to change the current situation. It all depends. Now, there's a lot of rumors flying around and who not running next election and who running and who not running and all this other foolishness. And it's going to be very interesting to see how much of that is actually true, as opposed to just being some rumor. And you know, I won't speculate on who those persons are that say they won't run. I don't really care, quite honestly, because if we intend to to seize control of our future destiny and where we're going to end up, we have to. That means we have to take control of who we elect. We have to make sure that we elect people who are ready for the task and willing to think outside the box and do the things that are necessary for us to get to the next level of our societal progress. Now I've seen where a lot of people don't realize what's happening with the what's going on right under your nose, especially when it comes to development and all these different things. Personally, I don't think if you're not a local developer, you can't be a developer here. Plain and simple, right? These are the sort of things that need to be put in place to protect our own brand and our own people. But we have an LCCL policy that allows people to come in and operate without Cayman partnership, which means they can own 100%. Yeah, they put these ridiculous, unbelievable ads in the paper saying they seek in Cayman involvement or we're looking for Cayman investment. And then they have these outrageous buy-in suggestions. I mean, if an average Caymanian had $10 million to buy into a project at 20%, why in the world would he want to buy into a foreign project when he can just use the $10 million to do his own? But the problem with that scenario is that his $10 million then would have to go up against these companies who are allowed to come in here and operate without Caymanian participation. This is the problem that we have, ladies and gentlemen. We keep apologizing before we do what's right. Hence the reason why we don't ever do what's right, because we apologize prior to, and then say to ourselves, "Oh well, we don't want to apologize, so let's just not do it." Yeah, there are some people here that enjoy the LCCL and enjoy the companies that they help, the lawyer firm, the legal firms that sets up all the structure and get paid for doing it. Okay, I don't have an issue with that either. But we need constitutional reform. We need constitutional reform that gives our ministers more autonomy over the civil servants. We need constitutional reform that strips away majority of the powers of the governor. The governor needs to just oversee good governance and make sure that the territory is abiding by its legislated laws and all these things. They shouldn't be interfering with a democratic process from duly elected members. I don't know how many of you remember the Lancaster House debate way back in the 50s when Mr. Orman Panton and everybody went down there with Bustamante and Manley and all those people. And Orman Panton asked for self-internal governance, which gave us, excuse me, which gave us the ability to legislate and implement and enforce our own laws without having a proverbial rule of thumb called a governor. We ruled under the Jamaica governor at the time. But all of that aside, we need to focus on what the future is going to look like. We need to understand that if we look at the current situation and the progress in which is taking place, are we factored into this overall picture of presumably success or economic benefits? Are we included into that? Are we factored in? Are we penciled into this overall picture? Now, a lot of average Caymanians, if you talk to them right now, they'll tell you no, because the average Caymanian can't afford an $800,000 two-bedroom condo. An average Caymanian can't afford a $550,000 one-bedroom apartment. An average Caymanian can't afford a 3-4 bedroom with 2.5 bath, 3,500 square foot house for 2.2, 1.1, whatever million dollars. The average Caymanians don't fit into that picture. Now, the development is the fingerprint of our future. So if you go around and you drive around and you make a notation of all the development that's happening in Cayman, and then you check that against the average person's salary and find out how many of the people that are averaging, that have an average salary, can afford these developments that are being done. That tells you that they're definitely not developing for the local market. They're not. They're developing for the new local market, the influx of people coming to our shores, because we have a red carpet sort of system. The other day, we heard a lot of conversation about the PR system and it should be restructured and it's unconstitutional and all sorts of things. Now, then you had a couple of lawyers who responded saying, oh, we shouldn't shut it down, whatever, whatever. Of course not, because he's probably on the ballot to become the next permanent residency or status holder. Who knows? The problem is that we've allowed people to come here and forget where they come from, because our system has a 7-year rollover policy. 7 years is a long time to become complacent, The reality is that if we look at the across-the-board treatment when it comes to labor, you have different categories of workforce in Cayman. Now, can they all be labeled laborers? Maybe under the politically or the terminology, maybe you can correctly say they're all laborers, right? Because under the labor law, you have to apply for a permit if you're not a resident or you're not a Caymanian, right? But when you look at the categories, it's a vast category from the executive level right down to the common laborer. And what do you call a common laborer? How do we label someone common? These are the issues, these are the fundamental issues that we need to identify within the Constitution, that we create clear language on what labor is and what they are eligible for. Now, and I'll give you a case and example. When you look at labor, I don't think anyone that's under a work permit system should be allowed to stay in the Cayman Islands for longer than 2 years. And the reason why I say that, I know a lot of you are going to be up in arms. Oh, you're crazy, you can't think that. No, listen, let's just get down to the nuts and bolts of this. The 2-year system allows people to go home on a break, to be reminded of where they come from, so that every time they step foot on our shores, they can appreciate what we have here and not set out on some fruitless, ambitious goal to change Cayman into where they come from. Because I rather them be a part of the sustainable growth of the Cayman Islands as opposed to be a part of the shackles that hold us down to the system in which they've ran from their very own country. So we need to have a 2-year rollover policy system where people are not allowed to stay here longer than 7 years and get comfortable and complacent and then go out and get PR and then start objecting against infrastructure that they cause. The irony of people objecting against the east-west arterial road. Now, don't get me wrong, I am not disregarding the environmental impacts that we will have when we build this road. We need to have the proper assessments, EIAs, to minimize our impact. I agree with that on the sections of the road that has the greatest risk. But isn't it ironic that the very same people that objecting to this project with some mix of Caymanians are the very reason why we need infrastructural growth? Because, ladies and gentlemen, let's just call a spade a spade. If Cayman had adequate harvest to take every job in Cayman, and we reserve those jobs in Cayman, we would not have an infrastructure strain problem. The reality is because of our red carpet service that we provide to become a Caymanian and a part of our social, economic, and physical fabric, has allowed people to come to our shores and call their friends. I've seen multiple ads on multiple platforms where they get these executive jobs and they call in their friends from back home. You all want to work in the sunny Cayman Islands, sit on the beach? Come down here. I work in HR. I'll get you a job. I've seen it. We've all seen it. But you see, government is nursing that bottle of work permit fees, driver's licensing fees, all of the very things that have socially deteriorated our existence is what government rely on for revenue, ladies and gentlemen. That's why there's been nobody moving off the chalks to try to get anything done differently. No diversification in our portfolio that would allow us to be resistant to some of these things in the mass that we have, simply because we chose to turn a blind eye. So when you have the very people that we've allowed to become a part of our fabric and a part of our country, and as a result of that, we have a strain on infrastructure, we have to now upgrade. These are the same people who are objecting it. These are the same people objecting. And I guarantee you, every person that objected on the east-west arterial road, 90% of them don't even live up there. You got some Caymanians who got some chunks of land up through that they don't want a road going through because of X, Y, Z. But one thing I know for sure, none of them are carrying none of it with them. They're not. Then you see these large tracts of land being bought up along that corridor. The thing is that we turn a blind eye because sometimes we don't want to know what's in our own closet. That's a problem. The political mileage measuring stick that every politician has been the greatest hindrance to progress and sustainable movement for the Cayman Islands since the inception of politics and our ability to vote and elect someone to represent our needs. The problem is that we've never really come out and said it. We never really come to terms with it. We've just let it compound and compound and compound over the years, over the decades. And now it's come to a breaking point. It come to a breaking point because the younger generation is not going to sit down and allow this sort of system continue to compound and create hindrances for them. They're going to speak out. They're going to take action, and it's going to change. So we need to understand that when we look at the system that we have, it's a system that has been subliminally fed to us. So we feel like, oh, well, we can't do anything different from what we're constantly doing, right? How is it that we need public consultation for anti-bullying and sexual harassment? Why is that even a conversation? And that's why I said everything I just said is so that I could circle back the wagon and hit that point. Because if we are really serious about forging a sustainable future for the Cayman Island and its people, then we need to make decisions like this without public consultation. Anti-bullying law don't need my opinion. We need the law. Sexual harassment in the workplace don't need my opinion. We need the law. Recycling don't need my opinion. We need the law. What we don't need is governments creating this God complex and passing laws that that directly violate human rights, no matter where you are and where you're from. You pass a law that you have to be vaccinated with an unproven vaccine to work in a country that heavily depends on labor. Ladies and gentlemen, please understand what I'm saying. Our island heavily depends on foreign labor. Facts. We don't have the harvest to fulfill and accommodate every job, so therefore we need the outside labor. But yet, we have a government who sat down around a table and agreed to pass a law to not only endanger, but to force and coerce these people to take a vaccine that nobody in that room has a scientific degree or a PhD in medicine. None of them. They just took advice from the foreign commonwealth and all over the world. The very same platforms that are now running and hiding and putting their head in the sun because they cannot face the truth and the results that are coming from this vaccination called Moderna and Pfizer. It is the worst thing that has ever happened to mankind, and it is killing people. We have a custom officer who had perfect health. God bless her heart, and may she rest in peace, and condolences to her family. And I pray for them. Right? But nobody wants to call a spade a spade. We got people dropping down in this country dying every single week. And these stupid politicians still enforcing a vaccination law for work permit holders. I see a big article about vaccination, mass vaccination drive. Now, they disguised it very well because they were talking about the vaccines for babies when they were first born. I don't have no problem. I personally against vaccinations, period. The human body has the ability, the resilientness to cure itself and take care of things once you keep yourself healthy. They don't teach proper health care. Oh, they stay healthy. They're not teaching that. They're not emphasizing that the way they emphasize in vaccines. But again, I'm not gonna argue about the proven vaccines like polio and these other ones, right? Then at the very end of that article, I read in the bottom, oh, and for those people who need booster shots of COVID-19, you know, Sabrina, you are the Minister of Health. You need to really buckle up, grab your shoe straps, tighten up your boots, and start speaking for yourself from your moral background and stop listening to the Johnny come latelys telling you what to do. The chief medical officer only doing what they are paid to do, and that is to support popular medicine. You don't see Dr. Fauci no more. CDC don't make no more comments. Nothing. But yet here we are. Here we are. Now, what I want to highlight on this show this morning, the two things I want to highlight, and I want to go into great detail, and I'm going to continue to do it until people start to listen, when people start to penetrate exactly what's at stake, right? The three key factors, right, that we need to pay attention to. Now, we all know that cost of living is something that affects majority of the average people, all of the average people, I should say. And we understand that the inflation and the growth and the this and the that and all of these things that they try to feed us with so we can get distracted from the reality of what's happening, right? Now, I don't have anything at all personally against any of the institutions that I talk about passionately, I don't. What I have against these institutions is how their structure and their system is set up. And because past politicians who may have benefited or not from it, or just too blind or too stupid to understand what was happening, didn't do anything, I got no problem. But now that we are quite aware that the current situation is not in the best interest of the general public or the people or the sustainability of the Cayman Islands. Ladies and gentlemen, there are a lot of things about the Caribbean Utility Company that nobody wants to talk about. I talk about it all the time. But you know what they're doing now? They're flooding every newspaper with tons of PR. Let's drown out the facts that are being spoken here on this platform. 100% pass-through costs for all petroleum products at CUC. We pay for all of their fuel, We pay for the fuel that runs their generators, that sell us their kilowatts per kilowatt hour. We get charged for the kilowatts that we pay for the fuel to generate. The oil that is changed, all of the lubricants, we pay 100% of their pass-through, of the pass-through costs of those products, right? and not one single solitary consideration for these consumers other than we're going to send out a piece of paper that says how to preserve energy, reduce your costs. No, you're not helping the public. You got a company called DataLink, which is a subsidiary of CUC, which charges every utility company except yourself to use the grid, which ironically is on our land. I keep saying it. And until I understand what I mean by it, we're not getting no change. So let's break this down. CUC charges us for all their petroleum products, right? We pay 100% of that. They then use those petroleum products to run their generators. The generators, which is connected to a grid, which they then sell us per kilowatt hour. Then they charge us a surcharge to maintain the grid that they're selling their current on. So we paid for the fuel that run the generator, we paid for the kilowatt hours that they're generating with the generator, and now we pay for the maintenance, the rebuild of the grid that they distributed on. Go look on your bill, it's there. And then they collect 100% of all of the money that DataLink brings in for other utility companies which use our grid. Well, let me just say the correct term, which uses their grid on our land. 98% of their grid is on our property. The only part of their grid that we don't own is where CUC compound is and the little satellite units that they have around the districts with the transformers. They own that land, but they don't own the road shoulders where all their lines, they don't own the underground road where all their lines run to houses and commercial buildings. They don't own that. We own it, the people, individuals, government. But we don't get no compensation for the usage of it from DataLink. They collect the millions of dollars every year. So if they wanted to be good corporate citizens, DataLink should have been turned over as an entity straight to government and say, guys, you know what? Since you're paying for the fuel, since you're paying for the maintenance and the replacement of the grid, and since you're paying for the kilowatt hours that your fuel generate in our generators, the least we can do is give you back DataLink so you guys can have some sort of give back program. No, they don't do that. That's not the situation currently. So maybe one can argue that DataLink need to be seized, taken, or transferred to government along with the grid. Or just give us the grid and we'll open our own company. It don't need to be called DataLink. It could be called Cayman Link or Link Cayman. And we collect the revenues that every other utility use on our grid. But the problem with that is that we now got bravery in our political seats. We've elected systematically over 50 years cowards, and for all of you who want to disagree, go right ahead. We had one or two people in there that spoke up for the best interest of the people, and they weren't in the majority. We had some people that did it back in the day. But the reality is that we're going to constantly accept this level of abuse from a system that have designed itself. And then now we're going to shift gears and go into the Regen project, the DART consortium, the consortium that is now proposing to put a waste to energy plant on our landfill. So no matter how you shape it up and how you try to carve it out, the Georgetown landfill still belongs to us. Yeah, as badly ran as it is, it's ours. But now that we have a suggested solution for implementation so that we can better manage our garbage and better benefit from it, but it's not to our benefit. It is to the DART consortium and the Regen project group. So let me break this down for you. Let me break this down again. And please, whatever you all do, if you can understand what I'm saying, share it with all your family members and break it down to them. Let's get the word out. Let's spread this. So this Regen project now, right, is going to charge government a tipping fee for every ton that they burn in their waste to energy plant. They're going to take the energy that is generated from the mass burn. They're going to sell it to CUC at whatever agreement they come to, because CUC has the only distribution exclusive rights for energy in the Cayman Islands. So they're going to sell it to CUC at whatever cost. CUC going to then mark it up and sell it back to us. Now, that may sound okay, right? But let me break it down. Let's get into the schematics of this. Let's get into the architecture of this. So the government going to pay the DART consortium $165, $175 a ton. That project gonna need between 12, 15, 20,000 tons per day. Now you do the maths on $165, $175 times 15,000 tons. That's a considerable amount of money daily that we got pay them to burn our garbage. Our garbage, our landfill, our garbage. Okay? They're gonna sell it to DART. DART, they're gonna sell it to the CUC, sorry, and CUC gonna sell it back to us. But we're still paying, we're still paying them to burn the garbage, They collecting that, plus they collecting whatever CUC pay them. Now, the monies that CUC pay them, where does that go? Because if one looked at an ROI model, you would say that, okay, the $175 a ton that we paying you should be your ROI. That's your return of investment, right? So the methane and the kilowatt hours that you're selling to CUC, who benefits from that? Who collecting that money? Now, we turning over the landfill to give to a project, to the DART consortium to put in a mass burn. Not like we can't do it ourselves, right? To put a mass burn system in place to sell the kilowatt hours to CUC, they're only going to sell it back to us because it go to the grid, and then we're going to pay them $165, $175, $200 a ton to process. Can you all please help me understand who came up with this idea? Was it Jennifer Ahorn when the PPM fired her? Probably not. I don't think she's that smart. Or no, I don't think so. But the question is this. Why do we need the DART consortium to do or implement a methodology that is globally known everywhere? Got it. Most of the places have it. But why are we even going mass burn? There's so many other ways that we can process our municipal waste and our recyclables. Pass a recycling law. PAC government. Pass a recycling law that will reduce the intake. But oh, wait a minute. You can't do that because the PPM government already signed an agreement with the DART consortium in Regen saying that they can put this in place and that they're gonna need X amount of garbage. So the encouragement here is to increase garbage, not reduce it with recycling. Now I know why we don't have a recycling law. If you look at the early stages of that Regen project, and it's there. For all those people think that I'm not an expert, I don't need to be an expert to read exactly and understand exactly what's in the document. You don't need to be an expert to do that. Cayman Bracken and Little Cayman garbage was on the list of things to be shipped to Cayman to burn at that unit. Facts. Now it's not. It's not on the list. It went from $400, $500 million to $1.9 billion. Facts. Numbers are there. Problem is that we are avoiding the facts because we got the political ambitious waving the flag, telling you to not look over there, look over here. So we got two systems. One has already been implemented for 40 years, and one is about to be implemented for the next 25 to 30 years because once they don't get the ROI, they're going to extend that 25-year agreement. And there's nobody that benefits more than cleaning the dump than the DART organization. Facts. 100% facts. All of their infrastructure, everything is built and designed around that landfill. So I don't understand why is it that we're so anxious to go down this path. They're going to saddle everybody in Cayman with the responsibility of repaying this thing, and we're going to be taken to the cleaners. I want our energy that coming from the methane. And if we do go mass burn, I want our energy that come from the mass burn. No, CUC not allowed to take it because we need to break that exclusive contract about distribution. Who in the world sat down and said, this is a great idea? Let us give you The exclusive right for distribution. Nobody else can distribute. They can generate, but they can't distribute. Who came up with, I mean, come on, man. Who actually sat down and agreed to that? The same people that we call heroes today, the same people that we hold in high regard, the politicians who sold this country out for their own personal self-serving needs. Facts. Because now because you're dead and gone mean you were a good person, you know. You all think Christopher Columbus is a good person? But we got Discovery Day. Darn it, I forgot about that. We still celebrate this foolishness. At the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, we must be consciously aware of the things that are fundamentally affecting us so that we can then make a valid effort to change it. If you're not aware, then you'll never do anything about it. You can't do anything about something you don't know about. And we need to focus on these things. We have to. Our future depends on it. You know, when we formed CPR and stopped that cruise birthing facility, we didn't do it because we were trying to get our names in the paper. At least I know Mario didn't do it that way, and I helped initiate it and start it. In fact, I was one of the first people that came to the table that wanted to get this thing done. One of our key members laughed and said we'd never get it done, but yet every photo op and every article he was in it. Yeah, facts. 100% facts. Now, if there's somebody that we owe a debt of gratitude to, and I'll tell you all, that's Catholic Churches over at Sunset House. That's right. She came to me. She said, I heard you forming a petition. I said, yep. To stop the port. I said, yep. She said, well, you need to talk to these girls. And I talked to Sabrina, Michelle, Naomi, and we got to work. I know, forgive me, girls, if I called your names. I didn't call no last names so they can speculate. And we got to work. And we formed that committee. We formed that group, and we were successful. But that was just a clear demonstration of what we can do once we unite our efforts. And then everybody else came on after the fact. So if we're going to sit down here and keep thinking that we're not able or capable of doing certain things, we're doing ourselves a great injustice. And we're sending the wrong message to the future generation that is coming. Because we got to stand up for something here. And always so that we can leave good examples for the generations coming behind us. Generation now responsible for generation next. Keep saying it. Right? So again, when we see this landfill consortium that has been heavily favored towards the people in the DART organizations, people who work in there. Because if you go up there and see who on that consortium, go on the list and see who named on that, who got contract to do whatever. And I can tell you, you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked. And you know the thing is that really blew my mind is that when local names were thrown into the fray, because Chris Saunders wanted to put it out to retender because the price was way too much and unsustainable for the Cayman Islands, and some local names thrown out, then we had local mouthpieces that paid by the government out there talking pure foolishness. And then got so bad where they make personal attacks about this and that and don't know what they're talking about. All the facts are, well, there are no facts. They didn't have any. So at the end of the day, we must pay attention to the reality and not the little murmurs around from people who don't have a clue about what's really happening. So I tell you here, ladies and gentlemen, we have a serious job. We have a serious thing that we need to ship in shape. And this country is not gonna fix itself. Believe me when I tell you, there are multiple developments that shouldn't be happening from overseas developers that don't have no Caymanian partnerships. That shouldn't be taking place. That's number one. Number two, if you're now Caymanian, you shouldn't be selling real estate in this country. End of story. All real estate should go into a general registry, and all brokers and all agents should be Caymanians who have access, pay a fee to have access to that registry, and everybody have the ability to market any listing on that platform. That gives the seller great benefit to know that everybody that got a real estate license in Cayman wants to sell their property to collect the commission. But how we got it set up now is a complete disaster, and no one wants to address it. You hear these politicians about they want one best for Caymanian, we want to diversify more. They're pure rubbish, because they would have broken up Sariba a long time ago. They would have passed a law that say if you're not Caymanian, you can't sell real estate. Come on, man. You know how bad it is in Bermuda? If you're not from Bermuda, you can't even buy land, much less sell real estate. Every week I look in on the social media. Oh, we welcoming this person to the team. We welcoming that person to the team. Oh, they joined our team, real estate. And I'm saying to myself, when are we gonna draw the line in the sand? When are we gonna hit the stop button? If you're not Caymanian, you shouldn't be selling real estate in our island. You shouldn't be on a work permit to sell real estate on our island. I'm sorry. I don't care who get offended by that. I don't care how many of you got friends that work. I do not care. A general registry for all properties that are being sold in the Cayman Islands. And if you're Caymanian, you have a right to open a real estate company and license, train yourself, get yourself up to par. And of course, we need standards. And that's for the government to put the structure and the standards in place. You have access to that platform, and you can sell anything on that list once you license, and once you're Caymanian. Nobody want to have that conversation, you see, because too many of our politicians, too many of our deadbeat politicians, rub elbows and eat dinner and friends and fraternize with these people, you see. And nothing wrong with you doing that, but don't sell our country future out because that's what you're doing as a trade-off. You can still go and do that with them, but let them go and do something else. They don't want to have that conversation, you see, because one thing they didn't teach you in school, they didn't teach you in school, they didn't teach our history in school, they didn't teach our proper history. They didn't tell us that selling real estate without would be just as lucrative as being an accountant or anything else. You don't need a PhD and you don't need a degree to sell real estate, ladies and gentlemen. You didn't even need a high school, you don't even need a high school diploma to sell real estate. But nobody never taught that to Mario in school. Because if somebody had told me that real estate was lucrative as it is in the 1980s when I was in school and I got out in the 90s, let me tell you something. They would only be the biggest real estate company in Cayman would be MDR. I can tell you that, because I didn't graduate and I didn't have the ability or the financial capability to go abroad to get a tertiary education. Our family were poor, still poor. So I can tell you, I would have taken that route. My personality would have made me take that route. Believe me when I tell you. But nobody taught me that in school. Not one single soul. Now, I had a lot of friends who worked in the hospitality industry because a lot of them were from West Bay. And a lot of the West Bayers were the founding fathers of tours and tour operating. So a lot of my friends went right into work. Not a lot. A few of them went right into work with their family business. And they do very well to this day. But thank God they had somebody in their family that showed them. But they didn't teach that in school either. They didn't teach it in school. So all the people who fell between the cracks, who didn't have the financial capability to get tertiary education or to go off and get degrees, those are the people that could have focused on these industries, and we wouldn't be so outweighed in it right now, because Caymanians would have ownership, hiring overseas labor to work for them. But no, it's the other way around, because we don't do a good job of training and making our people aware of what's going on. So these are the systems and the things that we need to fix. We need to do away with LCCLs. We need to do away with this 7-year rollover policy and put it to 2 years. Everybody need to be reminded of where they come from. They come here in 7 years, they get forgetful, complacent. They start treating us the way they treat their own people. They start treating our island the way they treated theirs. And then it becomes an issue, it becomes a social issue. But politicians don't want what's in the best interest of the Cayman Islands. They want what's in the best interest of their political ambitions on how they can get reelected. They don't care about this island any more than they care about their political sovereignty. These are facts. So we need to make sure that we become better aware and we make better decisions when it comes to the polls. Yes, I know we can only vote for who put themselves forward, but we need to start encouraging people. We need the younger generations to get involved because these are the people who are going to be responsible for guarding the gates of the generation behind them, because this generation has totally screwed it up. So, ladies and gentlemen, we need to get ourselves in order, and we need to save our island. We need to save what's left of it. And I know a lot of people may, oh, what are you talking about? Let me tell you something. Don't think because everywhere you look, you see a high-rise crane building construction that we booming. It may be booming for those people who got money, but it ain't booming for those people who ain't. Facts. So don't ever think for a moment that this is a holistic success. No, our economy may be booming, but only for a few people, not everybody. Our system is no good. Our system need to be revamped. We need constitutional order in order to put certain implementations in place without violating certain things. So we need to reform the constitution. We need to get rid of this mentality that things are the way they are because it can't be any other way. If we all agree that Cayman are in the best situation, that means we must all agree that the people who guard the gates is responsible. And if we all agree that, that means that the problem, the people that got us here can't be the people that can get us out. Yeah. So we need to make that conscious decision. We need to move forward. We look at education, we look at healthcare, we look at all the things that are fundamentally breaking down around us, deteriorating around us. But yet, all we can hear that we're having a mass vaccine drive. Julie won't build a $50 million high school in the BRAC when most people can't even get water to their house. We ain't talking about an EIA study for East-West Arterial Road, but yet fail on passing the anti-bullying law and the sexual harassment law in the workplace, and fail at passing the recycling law. But yet you won't get on the podium and talk about the East-West Arterial that is not wanted but needed. But you listen to all the people who objecting, who not even from that area, and 10, 15 years ago wasn't even here. But these are the sort of things that we need to talk about. You see, people may think that I have something personal against Wayne, but I don't. I have everything against his ability to run this country and his inability to see what's important. He's not a politician. He never will be. And if the rumors are true that he's gonna hang it up, thank God. Now that I can give him credit for, at least recognizing that this not cut out for you. Believe me when I tell you, we need good visionaries, doers, thinkers, people who are gonna set aside the differences of emotions. We need decisions to be made, not to be talked about in the public. Public consultation is warranted for certain projects, but not those three that I mentioned: anti-bullying, sexual harassment, and recycling. Come on, man. All we got to do is keep the pressure on. Keep the pressure on. And the thing is that we need to encourage young people to get themselves involved, not only in politics, but in the entrepreneurial spirit, to go out and do their own thing. If they can't land a job or they don't have a degree, a shiny degree on the wall saying that they're good at whatever. The problem is that we've created this leader society where we want to encourage our children to go overseas and get this degree, come back, and then they got to fight in this battlefield of the workplace to even be suggested where they can implement their abilities and climb the corporate ladder, but can't do it. Yeah, we got a couple of Caymanians who have done it, but that was because they were willing to lay down and play dead. Anyway, let me check a couple of comments before I sign off. Forgive me for not looking at the comments prior to, but I'm just looking at it now. Jonathan Powell. Jonathan, look, I gotta say this to you one time. This is the last time I'm gonna say this to you. You see this foolishness about a bridge when we're talking about serious issues on this platform. This is no joking matter. So if you at home on your back porch joking with yourself about your life, don't do it on this platform. Let me respectfully tell you, cancel the whole bridge argument when we're talking about serious fundamental issues that are deteriorating the existence of the Caymanian brand and the Caymanian people. You understand me? I don't want to hear nothing about your bridge when we're talking about these topics. If we're talking about roads and we're talking about well, not even bridges, if we're talking about solutions for road and traffic, you can come in with that argument. Because I'm not entertaining it here. And you know me well enough. Mario, when a person book their appointment for their driver's license, the license department must provide the person with a road code book to study and then test questions. Well, as far as that's how it used to be. I haven't, I haven't applied for a driver's license since the 90s so I don't know what it is like now. But I think you get a road code book to study. You do actually. The reasons I stated that is because this is not done. It can cause persons to sit the test to fail. Yeah, true. Maybe for sure the landfill is going to go Bordentown. I don't know. They got that NIMBY syndrome not in my backyard. I mean, remember when they were proposing to put it up there? But anyway, um, from decades ago, when I drive and ride through the island, I'll see dozens upon dozens of signs advertising land for sale and the names unknown. Da, da, da. Always aggravated to see outsiders. So, yep. Background. Thank you. The background is really nice. We got the waterfront, different locations. Um, yeah, I thought the same thing too. That we only heard about Julius $50 million school in Makiva on the radio a week and a half or maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure. He said he wanted a high school in West Bay. Again, I don't support no West Bay high school. Listen, Georgetown should have all. I mean, when I say Georgetown, apologies. The Cayman Islands should have insisted the centralization of a high school for all districts to go to the high school, right? But everybody argument was, oh, well, the traffic and this and some people don't have cars and whatever. Listen, that's why we should have had a proper bus system in place. Listen, two of my best friends were from West Bay, and had they not been in the Georgetown Walkers Road High School, I would have never been able to meet them and bond that and have that bonding relationship I had with them. You know, one of them didn't go on now, bless his heart and soul, may he rest in peace. But I can assure you, that segregating our people on a small island like this is not is not the right thing to do. Now we have two big schools now. We got the one at Clifton Hunter, which is finished finally. I don't know what else needs to be done there. The one on Walkers Road is now finally finished. I don't think we need any more high schools in the Cayman Islands. I think we need better. We need to address the transportation system, the busing, the schools, and the hours and the scheduling, so that people can traverse to and from the schools in a time which is not congested and frustrating. Now, there are some things that need to be done from an infrastructure standpoint, but I think we got enough schools. Now, the BRAC, on the other hand, maybe we need to upgrade and increase the rooms or whatever, the classrooms, whatever it is for the existing school to have, but we don't need a brand new $50 million high school. We don't need that. Not on either island. So I strongly believe that there are some things that we need to implement. But again, it goes back to the political ambitions that we see in certain people. Now, Julie been sitting on that fence, back and forth, jumping around, right? And don't get me wrong, and I got a lot of respect for Miss Julie. But what I'm saying is, when we're looking at the political side of it, and then all of a sudden, now you're the deputy premier, now you want a $50 million high school. Well, you didn't want a $50 million high school when you were with PPM. I don't understand. You come over here to the PAC government now, they remove Chris Saunders and you become deputy premier, and now all of a sudden, now you want to put in a $50 million high school. No, not flying. And Makiva, you was not flying either. he's one of the people I heard that said they're going to retire, but if they're going to retire, great. I think you put in enough time into our island, time to go sit down now, in my opinion. Yeah, I see there's an article out just today on CNS, I think it is, where the PPM, or the leader of the opposition, Mr. Roy McTaggart, is asking why the PAC government keep entertaining McKeever Bush. I mean, that's a question between them. I mean, I just sick of talking about these things. We got people who starving and can't feed their children, but we talking about these foolishness. We need to get ourselves shipped in shape. When I look at the new school that the one that they just finished down in Walker Road, it's a beautiful place. We need to upgrade our curriculum, our teachers, enhance the payments. We need to make sure that our teachers are properly paid, that they're motivated properly. Listen, we need to get our school system up to par. You got private schools surrounding Georgetown High School, and they're producing high level of academic kids out through there. Why we can't do that? And we got more resources, more rooms. So we need to seriously work on that. Good morning, Robert. Tried calling you today, but you wouldn't answer, but it's okay. Well, I think I've said a mouthful for beginning of the week. I got everybody thinking. I mean, always do, but I just think that we must continue. I want to continue to keep the awareness, have the conversations, talk about the things that most people can't or won't. I personally, when I look at what's happening around here, it's really disheartening, because we could be doing simple things much better that can create better results in certain areas, but we just don't do it because of the political mileage. The political measuring stick has become the most frustrating hindrance I've ever seen. You understand? I just tired of the foolishness. When you got ministers and government officials out on a certain cleanup campaign drive, that's fine. That's all well and dandy. I get that, but we're not motivating communities like how we used to. We used to have community groups that did all these things without any government interference, without any government influence. How do we get our communities back into that spirit? It's hard because half of the average communities can't afford to pay their bills, can't afford to feed their children, can't afford to put gas in their car. So the last thing on their mind is to form a committee to go out and help keep the community beautified. It's one of those that the government pays, and let me tell you something. We have fallen far from the mark, Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for watching us here on Word of Mouth on Monday. Again, I apologize for last week Friday in particular. So I definitely couldn't do nothing then. But obviously, we're going to continue to keep the show regularly aired and programmed. So for those of you who don't have Facebook, and you have friends that don't have Facebook, we broadcast on YouTube as well. Just go into the YouTube page, punch in Word of Mouth, and it'll be several Word of Mouths come up there, but then you'll see ours, and then you just click on it and you can watch the show live, or you can watch it later on tonight at any time. It's there, it'll be on the platform. So enjoy the rest of your Monday, and we'll be back on air Wednesday and then Friday. All right, thank you again. Don't forget to like and share our page. Enjoy the rest of your Monday.
We got to break Sariba up. Sariba is a cartel.
We have to own our grid because we paid for it. You had it too long. That's number one. We need to control the purchasing of fuel because we pay for it. We should be in charge of buying it. The fuel companies, you better buckle up too. Jackson Point pipeline have to be reverted back to the ownership of the country. Oh, Mario, you can't tell them how to operate their business. Well, yes, we can. Having this idea that you're going to impose what's best because of what the law tells you can do will cause an uprising in this country that you've never seen before. My children are going to be saddled with the debt of a billionaire so that he can have his name printed on everything we got around here, because let me tell you something, this is Dart Island.